Throughout her life, Alice had always believed that she was an excellent judge of character. Despite the fact that she had been married to Tom for 4 years, she never considered that he could be cruel. Their relationship was not ideal, but she never imagined that he could be harsh. However, she did not see what he did to Lucky at that time. For the last 8 years, her devoted companion had been Lucky, a French bulldog that she very much cherished. In addition to being a pet, he was a member of the family. As a result, Alice's stomach began to knot with fear as she began to see peculiar bruises on him. These injuries included scratches on his head, a limp in his stride, and most importantly, the way he cowered whenever Tom entered the room. Initially, she attempted to justify it by defending it. The possibility exists that Lucky did, in fact, get into a fight with another dog. Perhaps he is simply that clumsy. But the justifications became less convincing as the injuries continued to manifest, and they always occurred when Tom was alone himself with him. Over the course of one evening, Lucky was shaking in the corner of the living room, a new bruise located close to his eye. Alice crouched down next to him, her hands trembling somewhat as she gently caressed his fur. It was a whisper that she said, "What's happening to you, baby?" Lucky let out a whimper, his large, terrified eyes darting toward the corridor where Tom had just vanished. It was at that very time that Alice realized she could no longer try to ignore things in the camera before going for work the next morning. Alice discreetly installed a tiny concealed camera in the living room. The camera was positioned in such a way that it captured the specific location where Lucky often slept. The act of activating it caused her hands to shake, and she felt a pang of remorse since she had been spying on her own spouse. But she had to be aware of the reality. Upon her return to the house that evening, she saw Lucky wailing in his bed, with yet another new wound appeared on his paw. As she locked herself in the toilet and retrieved the video from her phone, her pulse was pounding faster than ever before. Her heart sank as a result of what she saw. In the footage, Tom was seen sitting on the sofa, watching television, and seemed utterly unconcerned. That is, until Lucky casually entered the room. Suddenly, without any prior notice, Tom's manner turned around. In a voice that was sickening sweet, he beckoned the dog closer to him. "Boy, please come over here." His tail was tucked between his knees as Lucky hesitated, but he eventually obeyed. When Tom's hand reached out to the dog, it was not to pat him, but rather to grab him by the scruff of his neck. This occurred as soon as the dog was within reach. Alice watched in horror as Tom grabbed Lucky off the ground, brutally shaking him, and then smashing him against the floor when he finally fell to the ground. While Lucky screamed and ran away, Tom had nothing but laughter to offer. "What are you going to do, huh?" His kicks were not powerful enough to leave a visible mark on the dog, but they were powerful enough to frighten the animal. Then, in a tone that was so icy that it didn't even seem like her husband, he whispered, "You're nothing but a stupid mutt." Alice quickly brought her palms to her lips, and tears began to cloud her eyes. This was not a one-time occurrence. The way that Lucky trembled and the way that Tom moved with such casual brutality made it quite evident that this had been going on for a considerable amount of time. That evening, Alice did not get any sleep. The thoughts in her head were rushing as she prepared a suitcase for herself and Lucky. Who was this guy whom she had gone on to marry? How could she have possibly overlooked this? While Tom was at work the next morning, she brought Lucky to the veterinarian and documented every damage that he sustained. Soon after that, she went immediately to a lawyer. To his surprise, Tom discovered divorce papers on the kitchen table when he returned home that evening. Additionally, he discovered a single screenshot from the hidden camera film. Alice had already left the room. A speedy divorce was finalized. Tom did not even make an effort to deny the proof of animal mistreatment, despite the fact that it was indisputable. However, Alice did not stop there. She went on to submit a complaint with the police and to pursue charges. In their state, the rules on animal cruelty were quite harsh, and with the video proof, Tom was in danger of being fined and even going to jail. What about Lucky then? He made a full recovery, although he continued to recoil in response to abrupt movements. She made certain that he would never have to be afraid again. She relocated to a new house very far away from Tom so that she and Lucky could begin a fresh life together. She would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in a cold sweat, and she would be plagued by the thought, what if I hadn't set up that camera? On the other hand, Lucky would eventually snuggle up next to her, his warm body serving as a constant reminder that she had made the proper decision. All of that was sufficient. After Alice signed the divorce papers, she believed that the horror had finally come to an end. On the other hand, she was incorrect. Tom's departure was not a peaceful one. It started off with very little issues, like his texts from strange numbers and calls that ended abruptly when she answered them. After that, Lucky's food dish vanished from the porch she had just moved onto. After a week had passed, she discovered muddy boot prints outside the window of her bedroom. Tom was observing her closely. Despite the fact that she put security cameras all around her new home, the number of infractions continued to rise. When she awoke one morning, she discovered that Lucky's favorite toy, a plush bear that had been damaged, had been nailed to her front door with a knife inserted through its chest. Along with the letter, there was a message written by Tom that said, "You shouldn't have left. It seemed as if Alice's blood had frozen." Although she went back to her attorney, the restraining order had little effect on the situation. His brother was a law enforcement officer, and all of a sudden, the police stopped taking her calls seriously. Tom had contacts for this. They murmured just a bitter X for emphasis. Finally, Lucky vanished from view. Alice arrived at her house to find the rear gate open, and his leash had broken in half. She searched the area in a frantic manner while yelling his name till her voice finally broke or she passed out. On that particular evening, she received a video message on her phone. A dark and grainy footage was captured. Lucky could be heard wailing as she was restrained in what seemed to be a cellar. Tom's hand stretched into the frame and grabbed a set of wire cutters. This was obviously Tom's hand. Below is a statement that reads, "You have taken everything away from me. I will now kidnap him." Alice was aware that the police would not be of assistance. As a result, she created a trap for herself. "I'll drop the charges," she sent in a text message to Tom. "Simply hand Lucky back to you." The bait was taken by him. The two of them came to an agreement to meet in a defunct warehouse on the outskirts of the city, which he said was neutral ground. To be fair, Alice was not a moron. She brought along a backup, which consisted of a former Marine who had transitioned into a private investigator and was discreetly documenting everything. With a sneer on his face, Tom appeared with Lucky in a box. Teasingly, he said, "Miss me?" Then Alice revealed her most powerful weapon. From the hidden camera video, she played a clip of Tom's own voice, which was his amusement as he abused Lucky. She brought out her phone and played the tape. After that, she confronted him with the reality of the situation. "You think this is just about the dog?" Her voice remained calm as she spoke. "The footage is currently in the possession of the police." And what do you think? In this state, the act of cruelly treating animals is considered a criminal offense. You will fall out of your employment. Is your brother's reputation good? It's gone. Tom lost his smirk completely. As the private investigator emerged with his weapon pulled, he rushed at her. The investigator hissed, "Move, and you're done," as he walked away. From afar, sirens could be heard wailing. in order to avoid communicating with Tom's shady brother. Alice had phoned the state police. Tom was taken into custody. Despite being rattled, Lucky was found to be alive. Is that Alice? The home was sold. She relocated to a different part of the nation, and she changed her name. However, she would sometimes check the locks twice, especially late at night, and Lucky would tuck himself in a little bit more closely.